So I'm super excited to be able to have this chat today. So I'm going to introduce you. And then what I usually do is have you kind of do a brief intro to yourself, like a biography kind of, but just short. Then we can get into some more specific questions after that. And then when I'm all done, I'll kind of edit this up and give you a link so that you can share that on socials and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just really excited to have this conversation for so many reasons that we'll get into. But for anyone listening live, most people end up listening to the link after. But I have Helecia Choyce with me today, and she is the author of a new book, The Monster Within. And I actually just got my copy a couple days ago, and I haven't gotten too far into it, and I didn't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm really excited to have this conversation and to talk today. So welcome. And I'm going to let you take it away and just do a brief intro to yourself to kind of warm things up before we get into some questions.
Okay, sure. Thank you for having me on the show. So my name is Helecia Choyce. My moniker, music-wise, is SKG. And I grew up in the industry from, I want to say, probably like 14 years old. I was introduced into the industry, and I started off as a rapper. So I was signed to Death Row Records. I was featured on Tupac's album, Dog Pound's album, and the list goes on. And so I went more so behind the scenes because I ended up getting pregnant, but I wanted to stay within the industry. So I, start learning the business behind the scenes. And with that being said, I landed a job in corporate at a radio station. And I ended up bringing people from my old neighborhood over to the radio station to help them and give them connections, which one of the people were Nipsey Hussle, and I helped in the beginning with his career. And then it was another person named Big U, which his name is Eugene Henley. And so he became a music executive in the LA area. And then he branched off other places, but predominantly LA. And that's when I had the encounter with him where he kidnapped me, robbed me, beat me up, extorted me, and blackballed me within the industry. And everyone was so scared of him. The whole city, the industry, he just put this fear in people because he was or is still a notorious gang leader in Los Angeles, but I was probably the only one really sticking up to him in regards to what he had done to me. And I just kept fighting and kept fighting to tell my story. And in the end, he ended up going to jail, but not because of me, because he was extorting other people. And then he ended up killing a kid because I guess the kid wouldn't let him extort or bully him. The same with me. And unfortunately, with that person, it ended up in his death, which Big U was arrested for everything in regards to that. And so my book is about what I went through and how I had to overcome it. And in the end, a lesson really should be learned from this, that nobody's untouchable.
Okay, that is an amazing introduction. So I appreciate that. There's so much to unpack here. So I'm looking at my questions, but now that you've said all this other stuff, I'm like, I have side questions upon side questions. The thing that really jumps out at me before I get into the questions we chatted about is you mentioned you were 14. I have young girls. I have a 17-year-old and two 15-year-olds. And so when I hear you were 14 when you got into the industry, and that it was such a harrowing, nightmare eventually, that just, it wrenches my heart because I think of my own kids and I think of the kids I teach and how no one should have to experience that in their life. But at such a young, age, your life should just be so different. And I can't believe in so many ways, like you're an inspiration because not only did you survive, but when I was looking at everything you've done before I chatted with you today, you're incredible. Even something, it was small, but on IG the other day, you did a shout out to younger people and kind of were mentoring them and the next generation, right? And saying, don't be bitter, don't act this way, like, kind of rise up and be better. So I can see even on the daily, you're just trying to be inspirational, right? And get that message out. And to come from that, to be able to talk like that to the young generation, I think it's just so incredible. But to get into the book a little bit, you've mentioned the inspiration, but a lot of people go through things and they don't necessarily write it down. So how did that whole process happen where you went from going through this to finally saying, okay, I need to pen this now and I need to actually publish it?
Because of the younger generation. And I'm happy you said that because everything that I literally do now is for the generation after me. Um, when I was younger, I didn't have anyone to guide me or help me. I literally had to learn life as life happened. So for me, it's like, well, if I can help the generation up under me, whether it's a book or advice or whatever the case may be, that to me, that's what I feel like now. That's what my mission is moving forward. I really don't pay too much attention to to my generation or the generation before me. I just feel like the generation after me, they need guidance because I was them. I was on my own at 14. I just had to figure life out. And when you're in that situation and you're a child and you really just have to figure it out as you go along, that is such a scary situation to be in. And I always think about that. And so I know that I'm like a strong person because a lot of people tell me that. And it's just situations that I've really been in, life situations to where I'm like, damn, I really overcame that. And I was overcoming things at a young age because I was learning and teaching myself, as I went along. So, really, to write it down, this is really for my kids, for, the generation after my kids, for kids in the world, because life can be hard. Sometimes people are set up the right way and life is easy for them and it's beautiful, but that's not always the case. So, for the ones where life is hard, I want them to look at my story. And even for the kids where life is easy, I still want them to look at my story to see that at any given time, something can change. And you need to know how to keep going no matter who's against you, no matter if it's 100 people against you, just keep going. Stand up for yourself, stand up, for what you believe in, no matter who doesn't believe in what you believe in, or no matter who tries to discourage you. Like, that is really the motivation behind everything.
Did you find it difficult to write about stuff that's so personal and raw and vulnerable? Did you feel like you were kind of having to go back into all of the memories, and was that harmful in any way, or did you feel that getting it out there actually was kind of a catharsis, that you felt like you got to purge those feelings and it was healing? What was the actual writing like for you?
Well, this is the thing. A lot of it played out in real time. So if people go back and do their due diligence who don't know the story, they would see I was on YouTube. It was cameras everywhere. We had a fight. He put me in jail for hitting him in the head with a bottle. They would see that I did interviews on different podcast shows like Tasha K, Whack 100 interviewed me more so in the hip hop realm. But so many things were already out there to where people were already making their judgment. So for me, it was just okay, let me get the story out there for people who already know the story but don't know the full details. And I think it wasn't hurtful. I was more so angry. Like, this point in my life, I'm just angry. I'm angry that uh, the younger version of me allowed that to happen because this version of me would never ever. But I'm angry because he did so much and then it was a kid who got killed and he doesn't have a voice.
And that's, I was going to say, I love how you described that this was already out there, but by writing the book, you get to tell your truth. You get to tell the other side that's maybe being glossed over, or that nobody's going to know when they just see this explosive headline or they see this footage. They're not going to know all the ins and outs and details, some of which you might have been not sharing. It sounds like he was a very intimidating person, and so that by penning that, by actually putting that out there, you can clear up some of that. Did it feel when that like in June when you kind of clicked publish? How did that feel?
It to me, it's like, okay, this is the end of this chapter of my life. So I think that is the best thing for me, to where it gives me peace after this run, with my promo, with everything, getting my book out there. This is a chapter that I really want to close, and I think that it's a relief of, okay, now the wheels are spinning to where I'm able to finally tell everything and then close this part of my life with, grace. I think that's the most important thing for me.
Absolutely. It looks like you've had some pretty special people supporting you too. So I noticed on Instagram you had mentioned different people coming out, some kind of surprising people that are there at book launches or events. What's sort of been the most meaningful? Maybe somebody unexpected that kind of came out and supported you.
To me, the more meaningful is not even that. It's the people that send me messages. Like, this one guy, he contacted me yesterday, I believe. And so he sent me a message like, hey, I really want a signed copy. So I'm like, okay, well, it's $20 and then $9 for shipping. So $29. And he ends up sending me $100 just to support. And, he's like, he's followed my story. He's very proud of me. It's those type of supporters to where he's like, my story taught him to keep going, and this is a grown man, and it's just like, when you get those type of supporters to where your story is literally making a difference. I think, to me, those are my best moments. And even when I got arrested for sticking up for myself, the young man that he killed, their family reached out to me after they seen the clip on YouTube, and that's how everything unfolded in regards to me finding out that he killed the young boy that lived with him, that was his son's friend. And from there, they were investigating, and then he got arrested. But even that family was just telling me, like, me sticking up for myself motivated them to tell their story and to stick up for, their son and their brother who was murdered by him. So when I get things like that, I understand that my mission, I'm on the right mission.
Absolutely. And that's really special too, because for them to reach out to you, that means a lot, right? And that it also says a lot. So I think that's wonderful. And what a great story about that man contacting you. Have there been any other types of people contacting you to say that the story itself was relatable, that they'd been through, whether it's some kind of abuse or some kind of trauma? Has there been any stories of that where that motivated them to kind of reach out?
Yeah, I had a few stories like that. And I think the more the book gets out there and get into different hands, I will get more stories like that. But I've also gotten stories from other people that he has attacked, that has reached out to me to let me know that my story has motivated them to tell their story.
So this isn't finished, right? Like this whole process of you feeling like this is closure and the next chapter, this could end up being that for so many other people too. So that's really interesting to hear, how widespread this is, right? And so that's interesting. Yeah. Um, it sounds like so you have this book, and it sounds like you have a lot of other really kind of successful things going on. How do you balance all of this? I can't believe how many different things you've founded and your businesses, and then now writing the book and having to, like launch it and promote it and do the marketing side. How are you balancing life right now?
I'm just moving along as I usually do. I have to do things in order, to be content with myself. So this is the norm for me. So I learned how to balance things early in life. I can honestly say that. And this is things that I learned when I was like 14 and 15. So to me, balancing things like this is really the norm.
What surprised you the most about publishing? Like the whole industry is kind of its own thing to tackle and figure out, and it can surprise a lot of authors. Is there anything that was kind of challenging or surprising when you went down this road?
Well, this is actually my second book. So I have a book before this that I published in 2000 and oh my lord, is it 10? I I think it was 10 or probably a little bit later. And so what in my opinion, I think is more easier now is so many different channels where you can publish your book on, where they do have marketing plans, where you can do podcasts, interviews. So I think in today's time for an independent author, it's easy if you do the research and learn the things that you need to do in order to succeed in the world of book publishing.
That's very true. Yeah, even in the last like decade, it's really evolved. So,
Yeah.
in many ways, people can now get out these independent voices and not be as censored, right? Because if you think about it, if what had happened to you, if we dialed it back 20 years or something, you might not have been able to as easily get this out there. So I think that's another maybe positive, probably, of the whole indie publishing kind of versus just trad and waiting and waiting and waiting. You can get it out there a lot faster. So that's wonderful to see. Have you ever thought about turning any of your stories in? Because I know that you have experience in the film industry. Does that interest you at all to take what you've written and turn it into a screenplay, or see this as a film, or do you want it to just remain as a novel and move on with other new projects?
No, absolutely. This would be a very good screenplay just because of the dynamics of the story. So yeah, in the future, that would probably be the only thing left in regards to this, because I really do want this to be my closure. But because of the dynamics of this story, it would definitely make a great screenplay.
I definitely think so too. It could, a short mini series, or kind of a one-off biopic or something.
Yeah.
There's lots of potential, right? So I think that's wonderful. Have you done much in your own screenplay writing in the past, or would that be something new that you'd have to learn?
No, yeah, I've done a few. I'm familiar with it, so I could definitely get a team to pull it off.
Yeah, there'd be some, I would say, challenges, but a lot of fun, right? Because
Yeah.
anytime you learn something new, it's just a new kind of niche that you can get into. What's a typical day like for you? What does, the summer look like? Is it the same as the rest of the year? How do you kind of go about your day?
Well, for me, the summer is more so dedicated to the kids. So it's just more so finding fun things to do as a family, and, work when I can in regards to writing books and doing the film side and the music side. But the main goal for the summer is the children, of course.
I was going to say, yeah, I hear you. It's like
Yeah.
it's busy, rewarding, but yeah, that's the time. Are your kids into sports at all, or are they like busy in activities, or is it mostly kind of just chill family relaxation?
For right now, family relaxation. My daughter, I surprised her with a guitar for her birthday yesterday. So she's about to start guitar lessons. So I don't put too much on her for the summer because she has a lot to do during the school year. So I kind of let her choose what she want to do, but it does consist of fun for her.
That's wonderful. Yeah, happy birthday to her.
Thank you.
Music, is she? How old is your daughter?
She just turned 16.
16. Yeah, I was going to say the guitar lessons will be probably like a new chapter then for her as well, just a way to express her musical side. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you still, do you feel like you're still heavily involved in the creative side when it comes to music, or do you find that your focus is now more of the entrepreneurial kind of side of your life?
I think I'm going to always love music, but I'm more leaning towards the entrepreneurship side. But music will always be my first love and my passion.
And I noticed that you were recently, at an event for the awards there. Do you do those kind of appearances a lot still, or do you take kind of like more of a background, quieter side? Do you still enjoy that kind of scene, or what does that look like?
It depends. Sometimes I don't because of the certain type of crowd. I am a person to where I like to be around a fun crowd, or, just an atmosphere where the energy is good. And sometimes I step back from it just because the same people will be at certain events. But if it's an event to where I know it's a different type of crowd, then of course, I'll step out sometimes.
It looked exciting, right? Like it looked exciting and fun, but again, it's kind of like about that balance, right? And it's
Right.
fun for a time, but yeah, I think that's a neat balance. Have you ever thought about now that you've written the two books, have you thought about writing fiction?
No, because I literally have 5 more books that I have to release. So, I have another book finished already that's going to, get published in a couple of months, and then after that, I have a few other books that I'm, going to start on.
Okay. What?
Yeah.
I'm just five more. Okay. Okay. So
Yeah, and I really like the writing side of the books, but I might try fiction. But right now, the books that I'm writing are nonfiction because they're memoirs. But I broke it down in sections. So for this one right here, this was more so about my situation with Big U. My next book is my situation with Suge Knight. And then the next one after that, I think is a generational curse. So it's different sections of my life that I didn't want to put in one book. I wanted to put in several books.
okay. Oh no, that makes so much sense. So much sense. Yes. Um,
Yeah.
so it's almost kind of compartmentalized in a way, and in many ways process it, get it down, publish it, and like you said, move on, then the next one, and each little part can represent that. Okay, I love that. um,
Right.
and also the fact that you must be writing every day to have another one ready to go. Do you devote like a certain amount of time every night or something, or how does that
So
factor in?
this is the thing with this book, I was done in 30 days, but for instance, my father passed away in October. And so his obituary was 100 and something pages. And I said and did that in 2 days. And the print shop was like, oh my God, how did you do this in 2 days? What I've learned about myself is I could literally write a book probably in 3 days, like a nonfiction book, because I'm naturally a writer. I've been writing music since I was 9 years old, 9 or 10 years old. So writing for me comes naturally. If I just have a space to sit down, I will just write. Like even writing songs, I can write a song in 30 minutes, probably 15 minutes.
I was going to say that your writing must have sort of that poetic lyrical quality. Do you find that? Do you find does it lean heavily into, really strong, vivid imagery and stuff? What's your style?
Yeah, if I'm telling a story, I like to paint, I need to paint it so people can understand it and really relate to it. And even as a kid, I had a very crazy imagination. Like when I was a child, I used to imagine that I was really a princess in a kingdom far away, and I had maids and knights and all type of stuff, and I could literally just write stuff. So I just think that even in my adult life, I just love to write, and that is a gift that I really have. And so that allows me to finish things quickly because I know, how I want to write it down.
And that's a key piece that you just mentioned there, that you finish them, because it's one thing for people to have a diary or a journal, and just like write a little bit at night or whatever, but the fact that you have a project, you know what you want to get done, you do the writing, and then you take it all the way. And so there's a really strong, powerful message, I think, for people in that. It's, you are a finisher. It's like the resilience and the strength and the vision, I think, um, is evident. So I think you should write fiction at some point. I mean, once you get the life memoir stories out there, you have the the storyteller in you for sure. Um,
Yeah. No, I believe that, and it passed on to my daughter because even with her, she literally has almost, I want to say, 100 songs, and I didn't even know she knew how to write like that. And I'm looking at her like, oh my God, you could really write. And she's like me. She will just sit and just write and have things done.
yeah, that's amazing to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's almost like you have definitely passed that on, right?
Yeah.
And again, next generation. So that's brilliant. I love to hear that. Um, do you feel like self-care is difficult, taking some time to, you know, just prioritize you, or do you feel like by doing these projects that is what self-care feels like for you?
Yeah, I feel like when I'm in my zone doing these projects, that is self-care, but I also take time out for myself. I am a natural introvert, and I say that because people will look at me and think I'm just so social, and I get that a lot, but I am a person to where I like space. I like my own space. I like to be to myself, and I thrive better like that in isolated environments. So I think that I'm always able to do self care because I'm always isolating myself. If I have to be social with people, I will get depressed.
Yeah,
And
it's like they would drain. They would drain rather than
very,
invigorate. Yeah.
very
Yeah.
much so will really drain me. So I thrive so much better isolated, which allows me to give myself self care.
That's excellent. Yeah. A lot of creatives seem to have that where they can do these little bursts, but the rest of the time they just need to conserve that energy and use it in a different way. No, that's
Yeah.
great. To kind of wrap up, we're getting close to time, but this is, a lot of different issues kind of raised. With the book specifically, what was the hardest chapter to write, or something in it that you feel that really resonates with you personally? Because over 100 pages. I've got it on Kindle, but it's 114 pages, I think. So out of all of that, what's the moment or the part that you think you really want survivors and other people to take away from that?
Honestly, I think everything was hard for me. Writing, I really do. Just writing it, and it's like, wow, I was angry because I'm like, I really went through a lot. And mind you, I'm going through this as a young girl. I'm going through this as a young girl. And so looking at what I was going through is like, this is unbelievable because I'm looking at it now from like a third party, if that makes sense. And so with people, I just want them to take from it that, to not give up, to not give up, and you could do anything that you put your mind to. And sometimes it will be gatekeepers out there, and it will be people out there who don't want to see you succeed or don't want to see you do good, but you have to know how to get around those type of people, and just keep going.
Was there an inspirational person either back then or while you were writing the book, somebody that kind of always believed in you? Did you have that kind of a mentor figure or somebody that, inspired you?
Honestly, and I hate to say it like that, but no, I don't really feel like I had a lot of people believing in me at all. I just don't feel like too many people believed in me, but I know that I believed in myself, and I think that was the most important thing, is me believing in myself. I would just say God, because me and God has been through many journeys. I'm a firm believer in God. And you know, I just think back to where a lot of people didn't believe in me. I have a fiance that motivates me a lot, and I'm grateful for my fiance because he's definitely, a team player for me. But growing up, I really never really felt no one believed in me like that. And I never really felt like nobody loved me like that. But I loved myself and I believed in myself. And I think that was the most important thing for me.
In some ways, that theme is I don't want to, I'm not going to diminish people who've had that inspirational person, but in many ways, that's almost a stronger message because there are lots of people who don't have anyone, right? And so they might feel like it's hopeless to continue, and they might see this book and the other ones that you're going to write, and they might see this sort of hope in you and the fact that you went through this and didn't have that, and they don't have that, but you still came out the other side, right? And that they can thrive with faith and just hold that dear. And so I kind of think in some ways that's the more powerful message, that even if you are alone, it's the self-love and knowing that there is a bigger purpose for you here, even if other people are saying you don't matter. So I really appreciate you sharing that in your book, and I'll be looking for your other ones too. So thank you so much, Helecia, for being here today. Is there any final thought that you want to leave listeners with?
Yeah, I just want to thank you as well for having me, and to let everyone know that they are able to get my book at Barnes and Nobles as well as Amazon, The Monster Within by Helecia Choyce. And thank you for listening to my story today.
I appreciate that. Take care, and I will send this video link to you, and we'll share it on our socials. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, take care. Bye now.